surround yourself with other people doing the same thing. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer, and we're going to talk today about habits. Look, creating new habits, breaking old habits, it can be a bear. It really can. I've had old habits that have been really difficult to break. I'm a sugar fanatic, and for me, breaking a sugar addiction was really difficult. For me, it really overpowered me. I would try to just cut back. Everybody would be like, "Oh yeah, you can still enjoy birthday cake and ice cream every once in a while, and you don't want to deprive yourself." And people would encourage me to eat junk food. But it was a habit, and it was an addiction, more than just even a habit, right? A bad habit can be hard enough to break, but when you're addicted to something, that's even more difficult. And, I liken it to somebody who's a smoker. You're just not going to tell them or an alcoholic, right? I was going to say, well, just have, a couple beers, right? Don't worry. You don't want to deprive yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. I would always hear that. Don't be too hard on yourself. You don't want to deprive yourself. And so I believed it. And what would happen is I would continue to stay in the bad habit loop. So how do you break habits? First of all, you got to recognize the habit that you want to break. And I think that's obviously common sense, but sometimes maybe not so much. But we also have to recognize the cues, the things that are actually creating us to act on that habit. So what is getting us to want to eat that sugar? What is getting us to want to look at social media, to, whatever your bad habit is, right? To wake up late, to hit that alarm clock. Like, what is the cue, and how do we change that cue? If it's alarm clock, it might be a little more simple, but it still could be very difficult. It might be we're moving the alarm clock to a different location. So we have to get out of bed in order to turn it off, right? If it's a food addiction or food habit, unhealthy eating habits, maybe you're going out to eat at fast food restaurants all the time. Like, what is that cue? Why are you doing that? Is it because, you're out and about at noon when it's kind of lunchtime? Are you typically traveling, moving around? Can we redo our schedule to where we're not traveling during that time? Maybe it's when we work out. Maybe it's when we have all of our meetings, we pack those in from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. so we aren't tempted. And we bring a lunch, right? We pre-pack a lunch to our job, or if we're working from home, if we have something already prepared, right? For me, I was going out to eat a lot for lunch. And I think that habit really started from business meetings. I'd have business meetings with potential investors and realtor brokers and so on. And so we'd go to lunch, and that's just fine. But from there, that turned into not just when I would meet with people, I would go to lunch, but I would then go to lunch every other day of the week. And I would run and grab something quick most of the time. So I'm going to, fast food restaurants, and even I would try to eat healthy, but look, going to Subway and go and doing, it's still not that healthy. So what I ended up doing is stopped scheduling for a while, stopped scheduling so many lunch meetings, and I would do coffee meetings in the morning. I don't drink coffee, so it was easy for me. I would just drink water. And so I would do a lot of coffee meetings in the morning. And then I would go buy my ingredients for the week of the sandwiches that I would want to eat. And then it was really easy for me to make them and break that habit. And now it's fairly easy for me to maintain that, although I do go out to eat sometimes, but that's okay. It's not a bad habit. So understand what it is that's creating you to do the negative thing that you don't want to do. Understand what's it, is it that junk food? Is it the you've got a bunch of food in the house, or you let yourself get hungry, or maybe you let yourself get thirsty. For me, a lot of times when I would get thirsty, I didn't have enough water during the day. I would actually crave ice cream, kind of sugary stuff, because that for some reason quenched my thirst. But when I started drinking a lot of water, that made me feel full, but it also, for some reason, just changed my craving. Maybe it cleaned my, I don't know exactly why, but it was something where I just didn't have the same amount of craving as I did when I was thirsty. Um, and same thing with the junk around the house. We do have junk in the house, but it's not mine. It's my kids. It's my wife. Now they know if I eat it, right? If the candy disappears, if the ice cream disappears, they know it's me that's eating it. So I have somebody holding me accountable, which is another huge thing with breaking habits or forming new habits, is having an accountability partner, having somebody that can hold your feet to the fire, making it so where you're kind of embarrassed, right? That you didn't do what you said you were going to do. I think that's really important. So my wife and kids are my accountability partner. They don't really even know it. I just know that they would point it out to me, and they would make a big deal of it. And I don't want them to. So I'm not going to eat that in front of them. Now I could sneak it behind their back, that's a possibility, but it creates something that's more difficult to do, I guess. And that's another definitely big step, is you want to make it difficult, make it so you have to go out of your way to continue to do what you were doing, what you wanted to break, the habit that you wanted to break, make it difficult. Of course, for a new habit, make it easy, right? If you want to start running every day and you're having a difficult time getting out of bed and going for a run because you want to run right away in the morning, um, look, put your gym clothes out, put your shoes by your bed, set the alarm clock a long ways away, things like that. Um, Go get a dog that needs to go for a run, whatever you have to do in order to make it easy. Your dog's your accountability partner, right? And it's easy to say, hey, I got to bring the dog for exercise. Now you don't need to go get a dog just to start running, but maybe an idea if you like dogs, go get a dog that likes to run. Um, and just make it convenient for yourself, and maybe even do some extra stuff like, hey, get one of those watches that tracks your run, that tracks your heartbeat and all that kind of stuff. And that way you can kind of make it a game. And even on those apps, I know you can sign up and you can connect with other people that are doing it. So again, accountability can be huge. One thing that I did that helped me is I actually made some bets. So I bet my brother, for instance, that I wouldn't eat junk food for 30 days. And he did the same thing. And whoever lost had to give the other person $100. So a bet can be very big as far as doing that. If you don't want to lose the bet, for me, it's not about the money, it's about the pride. Like, I want to win that bet, right? I want to say, I did it and I beat you to it. Longevity is really big, in my opinion. If you want to change a habit or create a new one, you have to have a lot of time. You have to put a lot of time into it. I think so many people think that they can create or break a habit in a small period of time. And I think that's very wrong. I personally think it takes way longer than what all the experts say. I hear, 23 days. I hear 30 days. I really typically don't hear much longer than that. I think you need to make a real effort. If it's a habit and it really grips you, I think you need to make a real hard effort to do it for 90 days or longer, right? And you're going to still have to probably continue to push for it for even longer than that. And it can, if you have a bad habit that you did, maybe you come home every day and you turn the news on, and you've done that for years, and you watch TV until you go to bed, whatever it is, and you want to get rid of that habit because you want to create a better life, it's going to be something that you probably need to work on. And maybe you need to work on your whole life, right? You're going to want to fall back into that habit. Or maybe instead of watching TV, you fall back and you say, well, I'm not watching TV anymore, but you're on your phone and you're watching YouTube videos, or you're scrolling through social media. It's the same thing. It's a slightly different habit, but it's the same, right? We didn't break the mold, or we got back into it. Now, we're not watching TV. Great. But we are getting distracted by media, by something that's creating a distraction that you don't want it. And so you're going to have to continue to work on it. And I think that's what people don't understand is we think, well, I'm going to do it for 30 days. I'm going to do it for 30 days. And I'm going to be perfect. No, that's just not how it works, at least for me. And maybe if you're listening to this, you're stronger than me, you're better than me, and you can do a better job. Great. I hope you are, but I personally am not. And if I tell myself I'm done watching TV, I can easily get distracted with something else that does the same thing. So one of the other things too is creating something that is going to take its place. So if you want to get rid of watching TV, maybe it's reading business books. Maybe it's playing a game with your kids, with your spouse, whatever it is. So create a different habit that can take the place of the old habit. I think that's really big. So you sat down and watched the news always, and then watched your favorite, I don't know, what do people watch today? Favorite sitcom or reality TV show. Okay, I don't want to do that anymore. So instead, when I get home, I'm going to go for a walk and read a book and play a game or whatever it might be. So replace it, um, and make it attractive, make it fun. I think that's really important. By the way, a lot of these habits are taken from are things that I've taken from the book called Atomic Habits. If you haven't read Atomic Habits, read that book. And I don't. I read it. I've read it actually a couple times, twice, and really enjoyed it. And I don't implement necessarily everything. I probably really do. I just don't consciously think about it. But I think it's really important that you understand the habit and then the steps you can take to either create it or break it. And so Atomic Habits is a fantastic book. Look, it can be a struggle. It's really easy, especially when you look around you and say, man, all my friends are doing this, my family's doing this, whatever it might be. You've got a spouse or kids or whatever that's doing it. Look, if you want to, instead of watch TV, you want to read and learn, but your spouse still wants to watch TV, that's difficult, right? If your kids are plopping on the TV or playing video games or whatever, it's difficult because the people that are surrounding you every single day are doing what you want to do. So try to bring them on for the ride. There can be some tension there, but try to bring them on for the ride with you. Obviously explain what you're trying to do and the support you need, and potentially they'll enjoy the change as well. And maybe they've been craving that change, by the way, as well. So I think it's always important if you can have the people around you to do it, and surround yourself with other people doing the same thing. Look, if you want to become a better business owner, and you're going to surround yourself with people that are business owners. It's the same thing with habits. If you want to uh, go for a run in the morning, then join a running club. If you want to go to the gym in the morning, join a group or pay a trainer, right? You don't necessarily have to pay the trainer for the rest of your life, but if you pay a trainer for 6 months or a year, and it's consistent, guess what? When you're done paying that trainer, you're likely going to continue that habit, because for the last year you paid the trainer, you had to show up. You told the trainer you're going to show up at 6 a.m. or whatever time you said. You show up at 6 a.m. because you're paying for it, and you're disappointing somebody if you don't, right? And so you do that. So when you're done with that trainer after 6 months or a year, you're going to show up again. You're going to continue to show up, and it makes a lot more sense. All right. So hopefully that's helpful. It can be challenging. Sometimes you have to rip the Band-Aid off. And I think sometimes you can go at it a little bit slower. But I think, look, reward yourself for those behaviors. Make sure it's fun, attractive, something like that. And if you've got a bad habit, make sure that continuing to do that habit is really unattractive, really bad, really gross, whatever it might be. Look, for me, eating sugar, I had to think of, like, well, how do I want to show up every day? And then I started doing the research of what does eating sugar do to your body, to your mind. It makes you look older. It helps lose your hair faster. It causes all kinds of diseases, cancers, and I mean, there's so many things. And so I started thinking about that and going, is that really how I want to live? Do I want to create this business? Do I want to create wealth? Do I want to have a great family and yet an unhealthy life? And for me, I made it really unattractive to continue to eat poorly. And then again, make it either easy. If you're trying to create a new habit, just make it easy. Put the healthy food around you. Put the shoes beside the bed. Make it difficult to do that bad habit, right? Bad habit of hitting the snooze button, move the alarm clock. It's difficult. You can't hit the snooze button. You'd have to go grab a broomstick and try to whack it with that. So those are the steps or some of the things, I guess, my thoughts. It's 2024. It's early 2024. A lot of people make New Year's resolutions or goals. Hopefully you make goals. I think goals are stronger. They stick harder. If you've got new goals, you've got to create new habits. So really focus on the habits that are going to get you there. Really focus on your behaviors and how you're showing up. And that's going to help get you to a better position, be better, be stronger, and create your inner world that you truly want to create. And you're going to show up as a better person. It's going to infect other people that are around you. And that's the best thing that we can do. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out. And we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.